Hello again and welcome back everybody to another edition of the Rural Report. I am your Rural 2IC and we're going to do another just chit-chatty video here. I try and do different videos. I try and bring the news because I think it's rather important. I try and bring different gear, supplies, and things like that because I think it's important. I try and showcase different skills to try and pass knowledge along. I think that's important. But another thing that I think is important, and there's quite a few people that send positive messages back, is to have these kind of what I call rural talks, otherwise known as a TED Talk, that just absolute cold hard truth, the ugly truth about SHTF. Now, to slightly piggyback on yesterday's video, where I did the video about Caleb House, um, I mean, that goes into a lot in itself. If you want to see what SHTF actually is, you know, close your eyes for 10 seconds and picture you as an 8-year-old kid. What were you doing at 8? You know, you were probably running around the streets, playing in the backyard. You had no care in the world. You, depending on your age, you felt safe pretty much. You didn't have all the things that are going on today. And that's a blessing in and of itself. We didn't have to do that. I mean, I remember growing up and uh, you were in the neighborhood. You know, that's all it was. You didn't have cell phones. You were just out and about, and it was almost common courtesy that everybody kind of looked after everybody. And you know, if something was a little off, even if somebody didn't have any kids, if they saw something, they would step in. And that's humanity right there. And so it brings it in. Now, we did some scripture reading yesterday where I brought up the one that Bear Independent often quotes, very, very powerful one. I threw mine in there about speaking up for those that can't speak for themselves. But you know, I get this a lot, and I mean no offense on it. Everybody's going to be different, and so I have actually ran across more than one person who, in their religious beliefs, believes that you do not harm another person. And while I agree with that, uh, I don't personally find it anywhere in religion to where it says that if somebody is coming at you with the intent to harm you or a loved one, that you just stand there and pray. Okay. Even in the Bible, I believe it's Luke, where Jesus is sitting down at the Last Supper with the disciples, and he says, "For he who does not have a sword should sell his cloak and buy one." Another one that Bear often references. But I, think about the importance of that, okay? Even if you don't believe in the Bible, okay? Just stick with me for a minute here. You have Jesus who's sitting down at the Last Supper. It's the last gathering with his disciples. And one of the things that he brings out is the reference of if you don't have a sword, you need to take your cloak off, go sell it, and buy a sword. Well, if Jesus himself would literally tell you, hey, if somebody's running at you and they're going to harm you or harm your family, why would he tell you to buy a sword? Okay, you are supposed to protect yourselves. And I know I get the different stories. God will take care of you, and yes, I get that. Um, but you also have to take care of yourself. I've done this. One of my biggest attributes, I think, is that I am really, really good at arguing. So much so that there is very few people that can handle my arguments because uh, I can argue both sides, and it's one of those ones where I want to make you think. And if you can stick with it and not question yourselves, and that's where you know that you are grounded in your answer. It may not be the right answer, but you're grounded in it. Now, when it comes to this, I've had a bunch of people. Well, they wandered the desert and food was provided. There was manna all over the place. Yes, okay, that's in there. That's scripture. But it also is, you don't just lay down on the floor and that's all you do. You have to get up and go to the bathroom. You have to get up and, you know, uh, go get some food. You're supposed to fend for yourself. And so that means you have to take care of yourself. And that means self defense. That means prepping. You are supposed to do what you can to survive. And that might be just a personal thing on me, and maybe others, they believe different, and that's okay. But that's just my take on it. Now, if we're going to talk about cold hard truths, one of the big things that I want to get across is, well, there's a couple I want to touch on. So stick with me for a little bit, okay? Is one, if you do not have a bug out plan, I would highly suggest that you have a bug out plan, okay? Now, we've talked in other videos about the word PACE, PACE. And if you don't know what that is, please go back and watch it. I think it's a very good video. But that stands for Primary, Alternative, Contingency, Emergency. So you need to have 4, okay? So if you're in your house and something's coming, put a vent here that makes it to where you have to leave. Where is your primary bug out location? Okay, good. That's you have a primary bug out location. What happens if you have to bug out from your bug out location? How many of you are scratching your head like, what? No, you bug out from your home and you go to your bug out location. Yeah, okay. What happens if you have to bug out from your bug out location? Where's your alternative? You think about that one? What happens if you go to that second one and you have to bug out from there too? Where's your contingency? Where's your emergency bug out? You should have more than one bug out location. That's where networking comes in. We talk about that. How are you going to have multiple bug out locations? Well, when you network and you create like a mag or a tribe or a group or whatever you want to call it, uh, everybody can have one bug out location, and then you talk to each other with communications, and then you go, okay, the threat level is here. We should go this way. Who's down here? Oh, Bob's down here. So we all go to Bob's bug out location. Well, if the threat's still coming this way, you go, maybe we need to go north. Who's up here? Well, Mary's bug out location's here. Okay, well, that's an alternative. You need to have multiple bug out locations. Now, we just hinted on the next thing I want to talk about, which is communications. Now, we've talked about this, and I'm telling you, I do, and I'm not trying to make myself big here, but we do a really good series on everything that we're basically talking about tonight. But you need to have communications beforehand, and I'm not talking about just radios. There's a time and a place for radio. You need to have some sort of communications, okay? But you also need to have other forms of communications. And so let's say that everybody is bugging out to bug out location 1. Great. Well, the only thing is, though, is Bob is down there first. He was closest. Well, you and your family have been tromping around through the woods. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, and you're coming up into the clearing. If your radio's dead, or Bob's radio's dead, or what have you, how do you communicate with Bob to let him know that he shouldn't come out and shoot first and ask questions later? Have you thought about that? Maybe our communications, if comms are down, is I'm going to take this flashlight and I'm going to helicopter it and then stop, and then you helicopter it back, and now we know it's actually you. just kind of give you a little bit of something to think about. There's a bunch of reasons to have non-verbal communications. Now, most of us is going to pick up a cheap walkie-talkie or a bow thing that everybody else has. And if you are in line of sight with your buddy and you know that there's somebody around, what's the chances that they may have the same bow thing or they may have a walkie-talkie and they can listen in? So if you are in line of sight with your buddy, maybe the might be a better option. Just throwing it out there, trying to get you to think. Now, there's a lot more that we can go through and we can cover. And I think we're going to have probably a lot of these rural talks. We've covered quite a bit of these in the past. I think going forward, there's a lot more that we're going to go into these. And there's a lot of things that need to be discussed. It is what the title says. It is cold, hard truths about this. I think the last one we talked about, your survivability is not 100. Okay, depending on the situation, um, you know, anybody you see, whether it's me or anybody that's the really big prepper people from TV or YouTube, their survivability is not 100. It's just not. If you want to get into a little bit more, I think I've shared with you guys when it comes to the big nuke. I've got two plans. If it's far enough away and it's survivable, I go into nuke plan one. If it's falling in my backyard, I'm getting a pair of sunglasses and a lawn chair, and I'm going to go watch it. You know, there's nothing you can do about it, and there's no prepping for it. Yes, you can do different things about strategically relocating. I can't talk. Let's try it one more time, okay? Take two. You can strategically relocate and put yourself in a better situation. You don't want to be, in a really big populous area. You don't want to be right next to a very big military base or next to a nuclear missile silo or something like that. Yeah, you can do that. But the thing is unless you move to the middle of Antarctica, you know, is there really a safe place? I mean, the technology that they have, these missiles can fly anywhere. So, there's no prepping for certain things. And I know of personally, there is a prepper. They used to live close to me in Ohio. They have since moved, but their biggest fear that they prepped for was a nuclear holocaust. And so much so that they had level, whatever it is, I can't even keep track of, it was like level 3 hazmat suit. They had compressed air, air tanks. They had the full mask, and they had all sorts of different things and way to decontaminate this and that and everything else. I'm going, I mean, it's got its place, but honestly, what kind of life is that? Like, if you have to put on that suit, that it is that bad, how far do you have to travel before you can take it off? How far do you have to travel before you can find clean water that's not, radiated, or ground that you can grow food in that's not have any radiation in it, animals that's not affected by it? I mean, there's certain things that I mean, you can prep for, and there's certain things that maybe you should focus on something else just in case. I would rather my money go to extra food, extra water, extra medical than to buy a whatever that costs $2,000 hazmat suit, because I'm not sure. That's one that if something happens, in order for me to don that I, I don't know if it's just worth it. It might not be. Now, if you feel different, great. I mean, do what you got to do. You can go buy an NBC, which, real quick, nuclear, biological, chemical. But I mean, anything can happen. You're not going to prep for it all. You just can't, unless you're a millionaire. And real quick, if you are a millionaire, just keep in mind that you can donate to the channel. But anyway, even if you're one of these big guys, I'm not going to mention names, that has billions and billions of dollars, you're not buying your way out of nothing. You can spend billions of dollars and get a underground bunker and do all this other stuff and everything. But at the end of the day, you go down into your bunker and you have an underground aquifer and a farm system and this and that and everything else. You're still around people. You're not doing it all yourself. Now, what happens if one of them people don't like you and you didn't know it? Or what happens if they all like you and then over time they don't like you? Maybe they want to, be the top person in charge now. They don't like following orders. There's a lot of things that can happen, and what are you going to really do? And that's where this networking comes in. Now's the time while you have the peace to be able to go and talk to people and build a relationship and build trust and build that brotherhood or sisterhood and get all that. And I think, and again, it's not 100%, it's not foolproof. Uh, you're going to find out that in desperate times, people do desperate things. It doesn't matter if you've known them for 20 years. It doesn't matter if you guys grew up on the same block and you guys went through elementary school together. It doesn't matter if you guys served together. It doesn't matter if they're blood relatives. Uh, at the end of the day, they're a living, breathing human being that their heart beats and air goes in and out and blood goes around and around. And they want to keep living. And most people, not all, most people, that when a desperate situation comes, they're going to choose themselves over anybody else. It's just human nature. It is what it is. And I get it. I know I'll get somebody, well, if it's my child, yeah, I know, okay. I'm generalized speaking, if you will. But you have to prepare yourself as best as you can within the scope of reality. You're not going to be able to prepare for every certain single scenario that can possibly happen. It's not going to happen, and you got to be able to come to grips with that. That's why we say on this channel, you need to prep as best as you can for the most probable. And when you cover that, then we can switch over to possible. If you got enough money, time, and skill and everything that you prep for possible, then you can start prepping for the fun things. You can prep for the aliens. You can prep for the zombies. You can prep for the radioactive yeti that rides an ostrich. I mean, however you want to get into it and make it fun for you, do that. Uh, I mean, the biggest thing that I see is that you need to do what you can within your budget, within your reason, that gives you the best possible chance and the best odds that you have for survival. And the best way to do that is to network and to get with others so that way you guys are a strong group. Think of it like a chain. Think of it however you've got to think about it. Insert analogy here to where if you're trying to keep something closed and you're by yourself, you're a single link. If you've got 10 friends, now you've got 10 links together, now you become pretty strong. Again, it comes back to the analogy. You're only as strong as your weakest link, and so you need to help each other. You need to cross train. You need to just regular train. You need to learn as much as you can. You need to make sure that everybody has their specific job. You need to gear it around towards what people's specialty is. You need to make sure that your basic things are covered throughout your group, that people have more than one task, that people can do fill in as needed. There's a lot that goes into it. And, there's no cookie cutter. There is no textbook on this. There is no technically right or wrong. The only time that you're going to have a right or a wrong is when the balloon goes up, SHTF happens, and in 5 weeks, 5 years, 20 years, if you come out on the other side, you were right. And all those people that told you no, you're wrong. If they didn't make it, they're wrong. Okay. Vice versa, though, you got to be prepared for that as well. Uh, you're going to get people that's going to luck their way through it. I mean, look at all the different times that somebody jumps out of a perfectly good airplane, their parachute doesn't open, they slam into the ground at 20,000 feet, and they live, you know, against all odds. Anybody else that would have done that would have probably died on impact, but they lived. Not only do they live, they're out walking around. So, given the statistics of numbers, you throw 1 million people into the same SHTF situation, one of them is not really going to be that smart, have that many skills or that many supplies, and they're going to dumb luck their way through it some way, somehow. Um, but that goes in the same thing of statistics. You're going to have somebody with a bunch of skills, with a bunch of knowledge, with a bunch of gear, with a bunch of preps that's not going to make it. And that's where you need to find somewhere in that where you make it. That's your ultimate goal. You're not out here to impress, okay? You want to impress me? Meet me on the other side of SHTF, okay? Which brings me into one little caveat. The whole shoot first, ask questions later, the whole I'm not helping anybody. When the balloon goes up, I circle the wagon, I shut the castle, and that's just the way it's going to be. The whole point of prepping, we always say you hope for the best and prepare for the worst. Hoping for the best still rings true during SHTF, which means you cannot let humanity die. When you let humanity die, what point is there in survival? Why do it? And so, if you are able to help somebody, yeah, I know it's going to be tough. You're going to have to really read the situation. You're going to take a big, giant risk. But maybe that person that comes up and is really sincerely asking for help, you reach out an olive branch and you go, hey, here's a can of soup, here's a bottle of water. Maybe SHTF ends the next day. That person, it's over. That event is now over. That person may have survived because of you. When society starts to come back and rebuild, maybe 2, 3 months later, that person comes back up to you and goes, thank you. Because of you, I'm here. Maybe that person might be the doctor or the architect or whatever. They're going to actually be an important member of the society that was very well needed. Maybe they're a plumber that knows all the different things about city plumbing to where they can actually get running water into homes again. That could be you that helps them out. And if you're one of the people that you're just like, is that a moving target? Boom. I mean, you may have just pushed back indoor plumbing by another 10 years. So, yeah, I get it. It's all situational. You're going to have to do what fits your needs, what fits everything. My only thing is humanity has to survive. It has to. If everybody's out for themselves, then what difference is it right now? Because all I see whenever I go out, whether it be to a store, a park, a parking lot, wherever you are when you're out in public, it seems like today's motto is forget you. As long as I'm happy, that's all that matters. And so, why would I take my shopping cart back? That's inconvenient. It does nothing for me. I get nothing out of it. So I'm going to be a jerk and leave it in the middle of the parking lot where the wind's going to blow it and slam it into somebody else's car. Who cares? It doesn't affect me. You're going to get the same person that's going to walk into a store in front of everybody, grab up a couple of items, and walk right back out of the store. Not a care in the world. Why? Who's going to stop me? Who cares? This is where, that whole humanity needs to step in. Think about all the things that's going on today and think about kind of your childhood or your teenage years. If that stuff would have happened, what would have happened to that person? What would you have watched instead? Think about what you saw in the store last weekend. That little kid that ripped the phone out of somebody's hands and threw it across and broke something and started screaming and said the F bomb and all this other stuff. Um, that would have lasted about 0.18 seconds when I was a kid. What changed? What happened? You know, where did we go to where what it was to what it is now? And that's where we've got to figure out. So that way, if, and I almost want to say when, if SHTF happens, we get through it. When we rebuild society, are we going to rebuild it back to morals and values, back to humanity, back to where we help each other, back to kind of like the Mayberry times, to where everybody knows everybody? You can leave your front door open. You don't have to lock your car door. Or are we going to rebuild it back to the day just before SHTF where everybody's a jerk? Hopefully, maybe you'll start thinking about, yeah, maybe we need to have humanity survive. But that's what I've got for you. I'm looking at the little timer thing. This went on a little longer than I wanted, so we'll do all the fun things. So if you are new here, thank you so much for joining. I know we've got a lot of new members. Uh, for everybody that is not new here, that means you've been on YouTube before. So hit the like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, so that way you will be notified for all the future content that's going to be coming out. Share this out with some people. Let's bring some new people in. We had some new people on the last workshop Wednesday. That was a lot of fun. We're just going to continue to grow and continue to have fun, continue to help each other. I've got a lot of different great content that's going to be coming out soon. So here we go. If you made it to this far into the video, guess what? You rock. Appreciate it. I hope you guys have a really blessed day. And here we go. So stay tuned. There's definitely more information to come. Say it with me now. Above everything else, please remember to remain united, because we're all prepping in this together.